Good morning, everybody! It's JPR, and today we will be discussing the new Pokemon movie, Diancie and the Cocoon of Destruction, which premiered about a few weeks ago in North America. Right off the bat, I'll go ahead and tell you this is much better than last year's Genesect movie and the Keldeo movie from 2012. So with that being said, that means this movie must be great, right? Well, while it's true that it's better than the last two movies, this movie still has a lot of problems. If you haven't seen it yet, I'm not going to give any major plot spoilers, but I will be discussing certain scenes from the film, so please keep that in mind. If you'd rather enjoy the movie as a whole, then you might want to stop watching this video. Also, if there's a copy of the movie on YouTube that hasn't been taken down for copyright, I'll link it in the description. So the movie begins with Diancie and her Carbink friends in the Diamond Domain, where they pretty much set Diancie's goal of finding Xerneas for the rest of the film. What I really like about this scene is that they explain why Diancie needs to be a fairy type in order for Xerneas' fairy aura to give it the power it needs. Up until this movie, I thought the only reason that Carbink and Diancie were fairy types was because Game Freak needed more fairy types to balance things out. But they actually made a pretty solid connection between Xerneas and Diancie here, and it makes sense. But after this intro scene, things go downhill a little bit. I know this has nothing to do with the plot of the movie, but it really bothers me that the dub cut out the full version of the Pokemon theme song during the Mega Absol battle. Instead of remixing the classic theme like they do in most movies, they actually just used an instrumental version. Also, recurring character from the Mega Evolution special is cool. Anyway, I really hope they decide to add the theme song in the DVD release. There was a slight issue with the theme from the Genesect movie, which they did correct in the DVD release last year. So there's still hope. A few minutes after the Mega Absol battle, we get a proper introduction to Diancie. And I'll admit, Diancie is a pretty likable character in this film. Her personality reminds me of Shaman a little bit, although she's a bit more sophisticated. It's a good mix. And while I'm on the topic of characters, let me just say that Serena, Clement, and Bonnie are all very likable in this movie. They all get some clever scenes devoted to them during the movie, and honestly, I think they're great companions for Ash. Yes, even better than Brock and Misty. If you disagree, that's fine, it's only my opinion. After Ash saves Diancie, he quickly finds out that Diancie can talk. I actually laughed at this scene because Ash doesn't even act surprised when he notices Diancie speaking. But, you know, he's already met like 150 talking Pokemon, so it's understandable. Anyway, I do have a problem with these intro scenes. The dialogue seems sluggish, and they seem to take slight pauses in between speaking, like it's made for children. Ah, crap! But still, the talking scenes weren't this slow in other movies. It's almost like they're using the sluggish dialogue to fill time in this movie, since the previous two movies were both only an hour long. Anyway, Diancie eventually tells Ash that it needs to find Xerneas, and they begin their journey. I hate to say it, but this is where things go from bad to worse. In the next 10 minutes, they go from a bus, to camping, to a boat, to a shopping mall. The scenes just feel choppy and unorganized, and there's no transition from one scene to the next. I know you guys are going to say this is a kids movie, and I'm overreacting about these little things, but Pokemon has proven in the past that they can make good movies, so that's not an excuse. Anyway, in the shopping mall, Diancie sees her Carbink friends and starts running away from them, like they're terrorists or something. Cause when I think ISIS, I think of Carbink. Ash then helps save Diancie using help from Clement's device. The thing is, this would have been a really cool chase scene if they were being chased by a villain or something, but they weren't. They were being chased by innocent Carbink, which takes all the pressure off the scene. I mean, seriously, there are 3 teams of villains in this movie, 4 if you count Jesse and James, and 5 if you count Yveltal, even though it hasn't appeared in the movie yet. With all of those villains, you would have thought that one of them would have been integrated into this chase scene, but nah, we get Carbink instead. It's almost like Spider-Man 3, there are so many villains and you don't even care about half of them. None of these villains are developed, and they don't have any motives besides, we gotta get Diancie's diamonds. We don't even know how they started tracking Diancie. They're just written in the movie, and we're expected to go along with it. Also, you could have removed Ninja Riot and Marilyn Flame from this movie, and it wouldn't have changed a dang thing about the plot. Like I said at the beginning of this review, it's almost like they're filling time because the last 2 movies were so short. So skipping ahead a little bit, the scene where they find Xerneas is pretty lame, to be honest. It's just standing in the woods doing nothing special. However, what they missed in the Xerneas scene, they made up for in the Yveltal scene. It was pretty dark and chaotic, like you'd expect, and Yveltal gave us some menacing vibes, like it's supposed to. Then we get this awesome scene, which just redefines the phrase, shots fired. Like I said, I'm not going to spoil anything major that happens here, but I will say the climax was pretty bad. I think we all expected some sort of epic battle between Xerneas and Yveltal, since that's what was advertised, but honestly, there was no battle. Xerneas just blocked a beam from Yveltal, and Yveltal's like, "Sup, bruh, you're back. Guess I should just fly away now." And that's it. I mean, you got a huge freaking Yveltal flying around. Shouldn't the FBI be concerned about this? The only interesting thing about this ending is that they could use Yveltal to set up sequels, like they did in the Sinnoh movies. At the end of the Rise of Darkrai, Dialga was still roaming around, and it ended up getting attacked by Giratina. So maybe something will go down between Yveltal and Zygarde in the next movie. I don't know, just speculating. Anyway, that's the basic gist of the movie. Now, let's go over it. The villains were bad, the opening scenes didn't flow, and the climax sorta sucked. Also, I didn't mention this earlier, but this movie has the worst soundtrack of any Pokemon film. For example, when Yveltal's going around killing everything, the music in the background is playful and cheery. I mean, who decided to compose that? I think every Pokemon movie since Lucario and the Mystery of Mew has had a beautiful soundtrack, but this movie breaks the streak. I'd almost rather watch this movie on mute with subtitles, or at least with some
freeform jazz.
However, the plot was pretty decent, and the movie straightened out as it went on, even if there were a few other problems. Originally, it seemed this movie's plot was going to have a much greater focus on Mega Evolution, and while this movie had some Mega Evolution in it, it wasn't the driving force in the film's plot. Maybe they decided to scrap it and save it for later. If so, I definitely can't wait for a Mega Evolution based movie. My final score for this movie is a 7.5 out of 10. But once Cartoon Network's edits come off in the DVD release, that score might be better. So it's not great, but it's not horrible either. Just meh. And if I were to rank this movie on a scale of 1 to 17, it would take 11th place.